welcome. You're watching Last Take on Money9. I'm Sakshi Batra, and on this show, we recap for you the entire day's market action and help you understand what really moved the markets today and what is it that you can look forward to in the markets and the trade tomorrow as well. Let's quickly first take a look at the closing levels of the benchmark indices and the broader market indices. Well, if you've seen, the financial year 2021 has come to a close today with respect to markets, and we've had a tepid closing at that. When you talk about the benchmark indices, Sensex and the Nifty, they've lost over 1% today. In the intraday trade, also the Nifty Bank shut shop with 1.7% losses, underperforming the markets today. Most of the pressure was actually coming in from the banking space, the IT space, all of them really dragging down the indices in today's trading session. When you talk about the broader market indices such as the mid cap and the small cap, they've still managed to hold up into the green. When you talk about the mid cap index, that actually rose about 0.07% in trade. Also, the small cap index rose about 0.5% and shut shop with 105 points of gain to its kitty in today's trading session. Moving on to the sectoral performance, let's quickly see that as well. The pressure really came in from the private banks, like I told you, and also the IT index shut shop with 1% losses. The Nifty Financial Services also down by 2% in trade today. Most of the other indices managed to pull up into the green. When you talk about the Realty Index, that's up by 1.7%, outperforming the markets today. The PSU banking index holding up with gains of almost 1.3%, 0.5% uptick for the metals and the pharma index as well. When you talk about the FMCG index, that also provided support with gains of about 1% in trade. So clearly, if you see, the auto index has actually slipped into the red. 0.03% of a loss is what we can see on that one as well. Overall, when you see, the market breadth is quite divided, but some of the pressure that has actually come in from financial services, private banks and IT, that is the spoil sport where we saw today most of the pressure really building up on. When you talk about the gainers of today's trading session, most of the stocks are from the metal counters like Tata Steel. 2.3% uptick was seen over there. Grasim up by 2.2%. So industries coming up in trade today. UPL managing to still gain about 2% and continuing its rally that it has seen in this month so far. Bajaj Finserv and ITC pulling up. So Bajaj Finserv, despite the fact that the overall financial services index was down, this stock alone has managed 1.8% of gains, and this may have definitely stemmed the kind of losses that we have seen in the financial services overall sector. ITC from the FMCG space bucking the trend, and definitely 1.5% of trade coming in there for this major from the FMCG counters. When you talk about the laggards, however, you can clearly see the HDFC Twins. Those are the big factors. Because of this, we've seen the markets really shut shop in the red today. Almost 4% of a loss for these big majors. When you talk about Power Grid, Tech Mahindra and Coal India, these are the other losers that we have seen with losses of over 2% is what we have seen in today's trading session for Power Major, for some of the mid-cap IT firms as well as the PSU major Coal India as well. Remember, Coal India is the only stock that has not performed in FY21, and today also it has lost about 2% in trade as well. Let's quickly take you through today's action and see how the markets have closed today. So financials have dragged the markets. Both of the benchmarks have slipped 1%. The Nifty Bank has clearly dropped about 2%. Market breadth has favored the declines today. The realty stocks have gained on reports of extension of the stamp duty. So that is something that has really pulled up the realty index at 1.7% uptick. When you talk about the PSU banking space, they have risen higher on fund infusion by government. So news coming in taken on the positive stride by the PSU banking space, and they were up over 1.3% in trade today. So that's something that's held up the markets. Now, when you talk about the last day of financial year 2021, this year has been an absolutely unpardoning year for humanity with respect to all over the world because of the pandemic and the unprecedented situation all of us were put in because of this COVID-19 virus. But stock markets have definitely shown the resilience that we have seen. And we have seen, in fact, the best fiscal ever in absolute terms. And in percentage terms, when you talk about it, was the best financial year that we have clocked in 11 years. All the sectoral indices in this financial year have given positive returns this fiscal year. You talk about metals, auto, IT and realty. These indices have doubled their investors' wealth. in this last financial year. When you talk about the Nifty stocks, only one stock from the Nifty index, that is Coal India, has given negative return in FY21. Otherwise, all the Nifty 50 stocks Nifty 49 stocks have given FY21 positive returns. When you talk about the performance of the benchmark, Sensex and Nifty, almost 70% of an uptick is what we have seen in this financial year. The Nifty Bank has risen about 74%, the mid-cap index 102%, and the small-cap index has even given higher returns at 113%. When you talk about the best performers, Tata Motors, Hindalco, JSW, Grasim, Tata Steel, these were the top Nifty gainers when you talk about the entire FY21 picture. So far, it's been a great wealth generating year for all the investors. We do hope that the continuation of momentum does stay on in FY22 as well. Most of the experts who we have spoken to do have a bullish outlook for the next 2 to 3 years as well, and do believe that, investors should gradually accumulate onto good stocks into their portfolio as positive returns and good generation of money can continue even in this financial year as well. So with that, we wrap up this edition of Last Take for you. A whole lot of coverage on the personal finance front awaits for you. So stay logged on to money9.com for that.